now listening to the Zay Moore Podcast.
I want to know what Zay thinks
There's
about
a few
that.
things that we got to address.
Black people got the swag. Black people set the trends. We are the culture. We got a reality star for our president. It's insane. Even if they try to erase black history out of schools, it's not going to erase black history. Because we've been here. Kendrick Lamar definitely beat Drake in that battle. Hands down. At the end of the day, I'm going to keep it real with my people. Because if we don't keep it real with each other, who will?
What's going on, y'all? You already know who it is. It's your boy Zay Moore, and I'm going to welcome you back to a brand new episode of the Zay Moore Podcast. Yeah. Today is Sunday, September 14th, and we got a few things to talk about, y'all. A few things to unpack. We're going to get into the Charlie Kirk irony and free speech. On September 10th, he was unfortunately gunned down during a Q&A at a college. And since then, there's been a divide. People feel a certain way based on some of the hateful things that he had been saying over the course of his career on some of his platforms. So, there's a thin line between freedom of speech and hate speech. People are losing their jobs because of some of the things they're saying. I don't agree with that, but we're going to unpack it all bit by bit. We are also going to get into Young Thug's latest interview. He made an appearance on Perspectives with Big Bank podcast hosted by Big Bank. And they had a conversation about being a rat, the whole Gunna situation. And somehow like being gay came up and his views on how men present themselves and when he draws the line with homosexuality. I don't know where that came from in the conversation, but it came up, and I felt it deserved the conversation because there's a lot to explore there, based on some of the influence that us black men get from urban culture, from the lack of love and emotional intelligence. So we're going to definitely have a good time talking about that. It's going to lead us into some good points. But I hope y'all are comfortable, ready for today's show. And let me get a clap. All right. Sounds like y'all are ready. So let's go ahead and dive into the first story, y'all. The Charlie Kirk irony and free speech. So it's interesting to me how people are suddenly crying about freedom of speech after Charlie Kirk's death. But where was that same energy when he used his platform to attack others? The irony points that we have to point out here, y'all. Kirk was widely known for attacking marginalized groups, LGBTQ people, black communities, transgender individuals, immigrants. Now, after his death, supporters want empathy and protection from criticism towards him. So my question to you guys is free speech only defended when it aligns with your own views? Think about that. I want to go to News Nation for the story really quick. They discussed, all of the firings across some of these communities. Across some of these companies, that is going on due to employees' comments about him. And there's a thin line between freedom of speech and hate speech. We're going to talk about that when we come back. But y'all check out this news clip, and I'll be right back.
As we continue to learn more about the alleged assassin who shot and killed Charlie Kirk, we're also seeing a cascade of people being fired for their comments, appearing to celebrate Kirk's passing, including Office Depot, which fired a worker for refusing to print a memorial poster. Also, the NFL's Carolina Panthers football team said they fired an employee for a social media post appearing to mock Kirk's death. And then Bengals player nonprofit, the Joe Burrow Foundation, also fired an advisory board member who they say made inappropriate remarks in light of recent events. News Nation's Jorge Ventura live with more. And Jorge, we know the list is growing of more workers being fired from their jobs. What's the latest on this?
Yeah, that's right, Natasha. Those firings are racking up, and many of those social media posts either mocking or celebrating the murder of Charlie Kirk are actually being amplified by conservative influencers or activists with large accounts. Some of these accounts, like Libs of TikTok, have over 4 million followers and are encouraging their audience to contact the employers of those making the posts. And one of those companies facing the online backlash from Kirk supporters is Delta Airlines, the company announcing the suspension and investigation into some of their employees, saying that their social media posts went well beyond healthy, respectful debate and that they were in stark contrast to the company's policies. We've also seen the NASDAQ firing a junior level employee on Friday as well. The NASDAQ also citing zero tolerance policy towards violence and commentary that condones or celebrates the murder of Charlie Kirk. And we are seeing this across the board in different jobs, in sectors. The Guilford Technical Community College in North Carolina recently announcing that they terminated a part-time instructor for similar reasons, citing that the social media posts did not share the college's respectful and learning working environment. And now Clemson University also under fire. Now we have South Carolina Congressman Thomas Beach calling for cuts to the university's funding at the professors posted celebratory remarks. The hashtag Clemson on X is also trending right now because of it. We have also now seen a new statement from Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy today saying that American airline pilots were grounded and removed because they were caught celebrating the assassination of Charlie Kirk, also saying that the behavior is, quote, disgusting and should be fired, and that their behavior glorifying political violence is completely unacceptable. And this spree of firings have even...
All right. That journalist was reporting, wasn't he? He was just going. But shout out to News Nation for that story, y'all. I just wanted you to hear that because as we did here, right, we got Delta Airlines firing people. We have schools, letting people go. People calling for funding to be cut, because of stuff like this. So that leads me into the difference between freedom of speech and hate speech. There's a big difference. So I want y'all to know this. If you're out there on social media expressing yourself or expressing how you feel about this, the First Amendment protects speech from government punishment, not from public critique or social consequences. So hate speech is largely legal in the U.S., surprisingly, unless it incites violence. I'm going to read that again. Hate speech is largely legal in the U.S. unless it incites violence. Now, one can argue that a lot of the hate speech and, a lot of the things that Charlie Kirk said when he was alive can be categorized as hate speech, right? A lot of what he was saying was stereotypical. It could definitely incite fear when we're talking about the baseless statistics that he put on transgender people, saying that all of the killings that happened, school shootings that happened in the past 10 years were done by transgender people. That was 100% not true. You feel me? But what is that going to do? That's going to incite people to fear transgender people. Is going to make them more tense around transgender people. That has the potential to incite fear, let alone all of the other stuff that he was saying. So Charlie had the right to say what he wanted, but others had the right to call it out. And that is really what it boils down to. He did have the right to say what he wanted, but others have the right to call it out. So this silencing narrative, right? Some claim that critiquing Kirk is silencing his voice, or critiquing, some of the things he said is taking jabs at his legacy. The reality is that critique is also free expression. Critique is also free expression. So that raises the deeper question: do people want free speech for everyone, or just for the voices that they agree with? Here's what I think about this situation. In the real world, when you're working for a company, let's take Charlie Kirk out of the equation, right? Let's just talk about the real world and how things go for like a quick minute for some of y'all who don't know. So when you work for a company, you in a sense represent that company, right? It's very much like how the entertainment industry goes. When you sign on with a label, you represent that label. You're a part of that umbrella. So there are certain things that are expected of you when it comes to what you say out of your mouth, unless you are really just one of the lucky ones whose voice is that respected, that they feel like it can be intertwined with whatever you're doing. That's more so in the entertainment world, right? But when we're talking about corporate and just like, people who work everyday jobs, there are thin lines between social media and employment. And in most U.S. states, employment is at will. So that means that an employer can fire someone for almost any reason, as long as it's not illegal discrimination like, race, sex, religion, disability, age, all that. Political views are not a protected class under federal law, y'all. So generally, yes, a private employer can fire someone for expressing political beliefs they don't like. Remember that. However, a few states and cities have laws that protect employees from discrimination based on political activities or affiliations. A few of those would be California, New York, Colorado, Washington, D.C. So, for our listeners out there, y'all kind of have a little more wiggle room to kind of say what you want. Now, public sector employment or government jobs, government employees have more protections under the First Amendment. They usually cannot be fired simply for their political views unless their speech interferes with workplace efficiency or they hold a political position where loyalty to a party is a job requirement, like certain policy making roles. And union contracts, company policies, if the workplace has a union contract or an internal policy protecting political expression, those rules may limit an employer's ability to fire someone over political beliefs. So again, taking Kirk out of the situation, most big companies often do have codes of conduct and social media, personal brand and policies that prohibit employees from making public comments that could be seen as discriminatory, hostile, or damaging to the company's image, even if it is on your own personal platform. So to sum this up, I want to say this, guys. It's important to recognize that criticizing or rejecting Charlie Kirk's comments is not the same thing as celebrating his death. People have the right to express how his words made them feel, especially if those words were harmful or dismissive. Choosing not to mourn him does not mean cheering for his death. It means drawing a line between disagreeing with his ideology and glorifying tragedy. As a public figure, every word carries weight. Kirk's comments, whether you agreed with them or not, shaped his public image and influenced how people remember him. The way he used his platform leaves behind a legacy that sparks debate even after his passing. This is the nature of being a public figure. Your words don't just disappear. They become part of the record of your life, and people will process those words differently depending on how they were impacted. I will go on further to say that one of the most concerning dynamics for me right now, y'all, is that the way some of these right-wing voices are using Kirk's death as a weapon is it's just very unfortunate. And it's not just to memorialize him, but to silence critics. That's really what it's given off. Firing people, attacking their livelihoods, or threatening free speech in the name of respecting the dead turns tragedy into a tool of control. It's not democracy here. That's intimidation. Very, very two different things. So I just want to give y'all some advice, right? You want to protect yourself, protect your employment, right? If you work a regular 9 to 5, y'all, or, if you have a government job, it's very important to know your employer's policies. Every company has different rules, as we discussed. So review your employee's handbook so you're not blindsided. Separate personal and professional accounts. Use private settings for personal thoughts. And if you have a public brand, keep it focused on your work or creative lane, right? So don't intertwine the two. And think twice, post once. Screenshots last forever. Before hitting post, ask, would I be okay if this showed up in my HR file? Just ask yourself that. Use disclaimers. If posting on public accounts, simple notes like these views are my own can provide some protection. Lastly, y'all, leverage anonymous spaces. Consider closed groups or forums if you want to share without tying it to your real name. You can also build outside equity, by the way. So, the more you invest in your own projects, podcasts, music, journalism, creative work, whatever it may be, the less control employers have over your entire identity. So, yeah, y'all, that's that. Just remember, at the end of the day, we all have a right to express yourself, right? So don't get intimidated because of what's going on here. Speak your truth, call out what you don't agree with, but you got to be mindful. Criticism doesn't have to cross into hate. I wish, when he was alive, someone would have told him that, hey, speak how you feel, but it doesn't have to go into hate speech. But it's unfortunate that it did every time. But disagreeing with someone doesn't mean celebrating their death, right? So I do believe in a sense of koof. I do believe in a sense of balance. Balance matters, right? It does. So with that being said, y'all, we're going to move on to the next story. Y'all ready? All right, so we're going to talk about Young Thug. Young Thug, he made a recent appearance on the Perspectives with Big Bank podcast hosted by Big Bank. and they were having a conversation, and Young Thug was speaking to the point of, there are two things that a man can do that would, make him kind of wash his hands with him. One would be being a rat. And of course, we know in May 2022, Young Thug with Gunna, they were both arrested in a large RICO case indictment in Georgia. The indictment alleged that multiple people around the YSL team were involved in organized criminal activity. So, that's where their riffraff stems from. Gunna entered the Alfred plea in December 2022. So he basically pled guilty and, maintained, hey, I didn't do any of the crimes. And in order to avoid risk at trial, he just made that clear within this plea. He was sentenced with a part of time served and the rest under probation and other conditions. So with all that being said, Young Thug and the outside world thinks that he ratted. And we all know that, street culture, you're not supposed to do that, or it's kind of off for you. That's really how they feel. Like, some people lose their life over ratting. It's sad. And I mean, Charlamagne had made a comment, he was talking about this, and what we got to remember, and I hope, anyone in the street culture knows this, is there's really no loyalty or honor in the street, because all of it is illegal. So it's like, no matter how together y'all seem like y'all are, when it boils down to it, unless you really ride or die, like a lot of people's mind, when shit is against the fence, it's just gonna be like one man band. You feel me? I'm just worried about me. And is that necessarily a bad thing, right? It's crazy because it's from two different perspectives. It's like, the street eyes like, yeah, it's bad because, you're supposed to be loyal. You're supposed to be loyal to the game, whatever the game may be for them, right? But to the outside world, when you look at things with morality, when you look at things from a legal perspective, point blank period, we know anything involving street gang culture is illegal. So it's like, how do we find the meeting ground on, Gunna shouldn't have said shit, because do we really hold a man accountable for just vouching for his life, not wanting to spend the rest of his life in jail? Like, it's crazy. It's crazy, man. I'm telling you. And I'm not even knocking it. I'm not knocking you if you're in that lifestyle and you listen to me, because I don't want y'all to think that, Zane for us, I can't listen. Nah, that's not what I'm saying. However, I'm always real, and I do have friends that are street guys, and I try not to get preachy because that's not what my calling is. But I am that friend that definitely will check you, be like, hey, yo, you don't think it's time to try something different? Or like, yo, bro, you ain't bored. You like, I'll plant the seeds, but I'm not the type of person that is going to continuously knock someone's head into trying to realize something, because I think self-realization is a real thing. I think self-growth is a real thing. And I could tell you once, I could tell you twice. I'm not telling you a third time. And that's how I go about my life, right? I think accountability is a real thing. You feel me? And who knows? Maybe Gunna has felt like he's taking the accountability for the choices he's made, whatever those choices allegedly might be, and he just might be trying to turn over a leaf and do better, live and do different. And is that wrong, y'all? That's all I'm trying to say. You feel me? Like, is it really wrong to want to evolve? Shit. But anyway, y'all, let's get back to what we were talking about, which is Young Thug's comments on Big Bang. So basically, he was saying that if you don't tell him up front that you're gay and you're a man, he doesn't look at you as a man, and that is betrayal to the man code. That's basically what he said. And I want to give y'all a chance to listen to it so you can grab the full context of it coming from him. And then I will be right back, and we're going to talk about it.
Once you rat or once you turn gay, and I don't got nothing against gay people. It's gay people that work for me. But when I look at you a certain way, if I look at you, if I meet you and you gay, it's like, okay. If I meet you and you portraying that you a man and you not gay, I don't got nothing against gay people.
Yeah, no,
you know what I'm saying? If you portraying a certain thing,
you deceiving.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't look at you the same.
Yeah.
I ain't mad at you for being gay. So what? Everybody, whoever gay, they gay. So what, nigga? I don't got no problem with gay people. Gay people work for me right now.
Yeah.
I'm damn near around gay people every day because they work for me. I don't got no problem with them. I don't hate that I even brung this shit. I don't want you to take it out, but I hate I even brung it up because I don't even want the LGBT.
They get what you saying.
I don't even want that community to even think that I'm against them. I'm overly with y'all
You
folks.
saying DL, bro. That's what you speaking.
Yeah, so that was Young Thug again, y'all, at the Big Bank Podcast appearance. And I just wanted to play that clip to give some context to our conversation today. So I want to start first by saying people don't just turn gay. You feel me? That's not just something that, someone switches on or they just jump into. Most research actually shows that it develops from a mix of biological, genetic, hormonal, and environmental influences. So basically, right, for some people, attractions feel fixed from a young age. And for others, self-understanding or their orientation may unfold or become clearer over time. I can speak to this, of course, being a black gay man. I grew up and I was dating females, you feel me? And to this day, I still find females very attractive, very, very attractive. However, I'm not sexually, emotionally attracted to females. And as I got older and I grew more emotionally intelligent, I was able to understand that. You feel me? So by the time I was, a junior in high school, I already knew what was up. I had already knew what was up. But I kind of, because I was a little bit ahead of my years, I had an old soul. I was very smart. So again, I did a lot of books, a lot of analyzing of people around me and of the things that were in my life. Everything from religion to, some of the things that I saw and heard at home. So I made a lot of realizations about myself, about society, and, about what I would need to do to fit in early on, or what I thought I would needed to do to fit in early on. So, it definitely starts early, whether you catch it or not as a parent. That speaks to how attentive you are to your child. But it's not just something that just pops out of nowhere. You feel me? So I had to debunk that turning gay shit because it's problematic. So what can change, though, is how someone identifies or chooses to express themselves. So, for example, a person might date only the opposite sex when they're younger, but later realize that they're also attracted to same sex and start identifying as gay, bi, or queer. That doesn't mean that they turned, quote unquote, gay. It means that they grew into a fuller awareness of who they already were. Now, with the expectations of the world on men, what I just read happens rarely in the black community, right? Where, men will feel that open and be like, yo, you know what? I find men and women attractive. It don't happen. And I applaud the everyday masculine black man that actually has the balls to do it, but I understand why one wouldn't. Trust me, because I lived it. And since we're on the topic of Young Thug, I wanted to talk a little bit too about hip hop culture and masculinity, y'all, because hip hop culture, as we know, has long been a reflection of street life and survival, things like that. But it also has been shaped a lot by hyper masculinity, toxic masculinity, and as a big hip hop head, I have to admit that, you feel me, and call it where I see it. And I'm all for the shits, but I feel like there's a time and place for everything. The lyrics, the imagery, artists' personas often emphasize dominance, toughness, and heterosexual conquest. Anything that falls outside of the script can be ridiculed or dismissed as weak or not real. So because of these pressures, we then had the birth of DL culture. That's really what it is. That's really what it boils down to. Because of these pressures, some men stay on the DL, living outwardly heterosexual lives while having same-sex relationships in secrecy until death. That's how deep it is, right? Like, they will keep this secret until they die, and just suffer in their own thoughts and feelings because they don't want to be exiled. It's crazy work. But know that the secrecy isn't just personal. It's a defense mechanism, y'all, shaped by cultural norms that tell men they can't be masculine and openly gay. My thoughts on that is fuck you respectfully. But But the cycle is going to continue. Why? Because hip hop's influence is global. So when these narratives are reinforced, young men are going to continue to absorb them. And we've talked about this before, but this also goes into how important representation is. Because when I look at the music industry, right, as an artist, as a black gay man, and I look at some of the acts that they do put the machine behind, and this is not me hating in no way, right, but a lot of it does come off gimmicky and feeds into the stereotypical views of gay black men, right? You know, the whole flamboyant, a whole bunch of colors, wigs, hair. I think it's very problematic, and there's a beautiful side to the gay world that fits in, right? We got some beautiful drag queens out here. We got, you know, people who doing a thing in that area, you know, great. But I think when you start to generalize a group of people, that's where it becomes dangerous, right? Because you don't leave any room for anything else. And I noticed that the industry had this obsession with just everything being flamboyant and over sexualized and religious, and it's just like a bunch of clickbait, really. It was like there was no artistry there. It was just a bunch of clickbait. And that is part of the reason why I do what I do. You feel me? Because even in my personal life, you know, I meet people and, you know, we'll be talking and whatever or however it comes up, right? And I say, oh, well, you know, I'm actually gay. Nobody believes it. And I'm not even lying to y'all. It's like, stop lying. Stop lying, man. You ain't gay. Stop playing with me. I tell a female I'm gay. You ain't gay. You don't look gay. You don't act gay. Nah. You ain't gay. I hear it all the time. All the time. For years. And I started to think about that too. Like, okay, well, what is gay to the outside world, you know, to people who are not gay? And it's evident. You feel me? Like our minds have been warped and conditioned to associate gayness with flamboyance and sex and being promiscuous. A lot of shit that actually straight people do too, you know, to be honest. But I think any stereotypical ideology is harmful, point blank, period. And I think that's why I go over and beyond to present myself in the most authentic way, y'all, because I've been in the industry or trying to get my foot in the industry for a while, and I can't even tell you how many people have told me that I need to change who I am to get the success that I want. Around 2012, around 2013, I believe, I had a manager who was, you know, guiding my career at the time. You know, he was getting me some shows, pulling me some good pieces. There was a very popular brand back then called Billionaire Boys. It was a popular urban brand. You know, people like Bow Wow wore their pieces. So, you know, I was really doing my thing. And I remember in one of our meetings with him and someone else, he had said to me, so we know that you're gay, and that's really not the problem. The problem is that we don't think that the public is ready for a masculine black gay superstar yet. So if we tone it down, we think that we can get you in the door, get people comfortable, and then, you know, eventually, you know, we can make image changes. So when he said tone it down, I knew exactly what he was talking about because, you know, I'd had conversations about, I guess, my lack of gayness. I don't know, fuck. I'd had conversations about that with people before. So when he said tone it down, I was like, okay, so basically you want me to be a little bit more softer. Is that kind of what you're saying? And he was like, yeah, you know, he just spoke to how hard it would be to get features from, you know, straight black, big male artists. You know, they wouldn't want to work with another gay artists, you know, because of the people that they sell to, the image they got to hold up, whatever. I was a little tight because I was firm when I met him in my stance when it came to who I was as an artist and who I was as an individual first, right? Because I think that also matters. I told him I wasn't with the gimmicks. I have enough talent. I don't need to put on something bright or, I'm not doing none of that. You feel me? I'm not going to be out here RuPauling it because that's just not me as a gay black man. Despite the fact that that's what y'all want people to think, right? That being gay just means, hey, girlfriend, what's good? What's up? Yes, sis. Nah, it's just so much more than that to being gay. And, again, a lot of this comes from the social norms that we grew up in and the things that we've been conditioned to think and feel. And it takes a really strong-minded individual to kind of step out of that and be like, let me learn the world for myself. You feel me? Let me take this all in. And that shouldn't be viewed as you being complacent with anything that you normally wouldn't be, right? It doesn't take you being complacent to be understanding, to be respectful, to be emotionally intelligent. I don't agree with a lot of shit. I'll tell you that right now. There's a lot of shit that I'll be like, huh? But you got to be willing and comfortable in yourself, you feel me? Comfortable in where you stand as a human being, to even have the time of day to really have the thought process to understand anything that's foreign to you. And that's really what it boils down to, right? Because tying it back to what he said, I felt like I would be one of those people that he would feel that way about, you feel me? Because on face value, I feel like it'd be a cool meet. Like, yo, Thug, what's good? I'm Zay, yada, yada, and then like we'd probably be having a conversation, be in the studio, whatever. And then, while, the topic of fucking bitches come up, they probably look at me and be like, yo, Zay, chime in the conversation. I'd be like, yo, well, actually, I don't date girls. Like, I'm gay. I guess I would be a deceiver at that point because in the initial meeting, I wasn't like, yo, Thug, what's good? My name is Zay, by the way, I'm gay. So I guess in his views, based on what he said, I had turned gay within that 10 minutes because I didn't tell him when I first met him 10 minutes ago that I was gay. Yeah, how dumb that sound? Sounds fucking stupid. And again, I don't have no ill feeling towards Young Thug, right? Because you really can't fault people for thinking the way they think when you really have to take into consideration, how they were raised, where they were raised, and the social norms around whatever topic it is that we're talking about. You feel me? It takes a lot of willpower to step out of that. So I just want to say, man, I think it's a little problematic to insinuate that if you're gay, then you're not a real man. I think that who you love and who you date doesn't strip you of your biology. You feel me? You still have a penis. You're a man. That's what it boils down to. You feel me? And that's why me personally, and I don't like withhold the information, but I don't wear the shit on my sleeve. You feel me? But once females find out, because there is this thing, right? There's a dynamic between females and gay boys where some of the females are really, really comfortable to use the word bitch a lot. Like, yes, bitch, I was so, bitch. I'm not really cool with that. I'm not cool with that because for me personally, right, the way I feel is women will treat a straight man different than they will a gay man when it comes to respect. And I don't know if it's something that's done intentional or unintentional, right? But I have seen, in cases where the dynamic between, a female and her gay friend is very different than the dynamic between her and any other straight man in her life. We've seen in, combative cases between males and females, right? The female calling the man a bitch or sassy or weak or, the furthest thing, anything that, steers away from what the comfortable definition of a man is. Women will do that on purpose to, try to pull out a man's manhood during a conversation like that. And a lot of those terms, right, are terms that they will turn around and again use with a gay friend. Like, yes, bitch, and yes, bitch, you so sassy. Oh, bitch, yeah, you cunt. Da, da, da. It's like, yo, I do not fuck with it at all. You feel me? You gonna respect me like you gonna respect any other man in the street. And that's just how I am. Other people don't think that way, but for me, because I'm big on respect, before anything, right? I don't care who you date. I don't care who you fuck. I don't care. You just gonna respect me because I'm respectful, 100%. That's how I was raised. You feel me? And everyone's different. You feel me? I know some people who are cool with that. And there's other people like me. You know, I have a few homeboys where we just don't like the shit. You feel me? And we have a right as men to set boundaries and be like, hey, you know, I'm gay. Yeah, we cool. But I would just like you to not refer to me as bitch when we having conversations because it's getting a little out of hand. And that in no way should be viewed as like, for instance, I had somebody call me a femphobe. You know, it was a feminine gay person. And he called me a femphobe because he's like, I just don't feel like you comfortable around feminine boys because that look isn't accepted. And I would beg to differ because if anything, what I feel like the world is more comfortable with is the flamboyant side of the gay world. You feel me? They're not comfortable with, you know, seeing gay people who look like everyday people or who are everyday people, which there's millions. You feel me? There's millions of them. You feel me? Gay people are not just side acts. You feel me? We not just entertainment on television, makeup, hair, all that. Like it's corny. So I say all this to say representation matters. That's why people like me are here. You feel me? That's why I put my eggs in so many baskets. Education, journalism, music, acting. I'm everywhere because I feel like you know, the more people like me who are not afraid to break them barriers and break through, then it'll lead to more people doing the same thing and more people and more people and more. For real. The more the merrier. Well, let's bring this home, y'all. Let's bring it home. All right. So this is what I want to leave y'all with. Representation matters because it breaks the cycle of silence. When young men see artists, athletes, and leaders who are both proud of their sexuality and respected for their talent, it chips away at the myth that being gay means you're somehow less of a man, which is basically what Young Thug was trying to say, right? Masculinity isn't about hiding. It's about being authentic to one's true self. It's about having the courage to live your truth without fear. So the truth is, you can be gay and masculine. You can be gay and successful. You can be gay and deeply loved. Those things are not contradictions. They are possibilities. And the more we create space for people to live openly, the fewer men will feel forced into secrecy on the down low. All right. So at the end of the day, y'all, happiness comes from alignment. When who you are on the inside matches the life you live on the outside. That's just not freedom. That's power. And it's a power that everyone deserves to have. But good people, y'all know what that sound means. It probably means your boy been yapping a lot, but we made it to the end of the episode. Yes, I want to thank y'all so much for tuning in today. I hope something you heard inspires you to live better, be better, move better. And, you know, that's always the goal here at the Zay Moore Podcast. I got to remind you, of course, to follow me at the ZayFiles_ on Instagram, the Zay Moore Podcast on Instagram, so you can stay up to date on the latest. And remember, I will be in New York October 4th through the 6th. So, you feel me? I'd love to link up and, you know, chat about whatever, whenever, wherever, however. You feel me? Let's talk. Let's get it popping. I want to thank y'all so much again for tuning into the Zay Moore Podcast. And until next time, peace.